Right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. Got a whole bunch of good crypto news stuff for you today. But before we begin, I'd like to say, yeah, I haven't made a video in a while, but my last video was a live stream, and I thank you all for coming there. Did some live news in the live stream, I suppose, if you will. And one thing before we begin, I got a link for you. And it's down in the description. It'll also be the top pinned comment. And it's a Coinbase Earn link. So free stuff, more free stuff. If you aren't familiar with Coinbase Earn, click the link below. There's only 4 people that can sign up. So the first 4, you got to be quick. And it's $10 in EOS, and you have to do a quiz, and you do 5 separate questions, and you get $2 in EOS for each one. And they're the most dumb questions ever, so it's super easy. There's no catch. If you have a Coinbase, you just click it and you do the questions. $10 in EOS. And if you don't like EOS, well, you can just convert it to whatever you want. So, and then you can invite other people in to earn even more if you would like. So, EOS in the description. But first thing I want to talk about is a judge rules for Roger Ver and Craig Wright libel lawsuit. So Craig Wright, if you guys remember a couple months back, was trying to sue everybody around him for calling him a fraud, which probably rightfully so. But I commented the fact that I believe that in no way, shape, or form he would win these court lawsuits, because even if you went to court and you said, okay, well, prove that you're Satoshi, because if I call you a fraud for saying Satoshi, you're going to have to prove to me that you are Satoshi and prove me wrong. And then I'll be like, oh man, I guess you're not a fraud, which he can't do at all. So there's no way you could win that court case. And surprisingly, he did not win that court case. A judge has struck down a libel lawsuit against Roger Ver, the early Bitcoin investor that was filed by Satoshi Nakamoto claimant Craig Wright. Wright alleged that Ver defamed him in YouTube that was published in mid-April, in which Ver denounced Wright's claims to be Bitcoin's anonymous creator, Satoshi Nakamoto. The video was also circulated on Twitter. So according to court documents published Wednesday, Judge Sir Matthew Nicklin said Wright has not supplied sufficient justification that the trial should be overseen by the High Court of England and Wales, citing both Wright's international reputation and Bitcoin's global community. The court found that there was no objective evidence Wright's reputation in England was harmed. So it's not really about him being Satoshi or not, but the fact, at least in this case, that the judge said, hey, your reputation wasn't harmed because everybody knows who you are. The evidence clearly demonstrates that the most substantial publication of the statements complained of is in the U.S., the court determined. Accordingly, only 7% of the video's audience was based in the United Kingdom, per the documents. Furthermore, the court found there was no evidence at all of any actual reputational harm that the claimant has suffered as a result of any of these defendants' publications. Exactly. So if I call Satoshi or Craig Wright a fraud, how is that hurting his business? What business? The BSV business? I don't understand. And neither does the judge. So no, no win for you on that one, Craig Wright. And probably subsequently all lawsuits that you try to file against people for calling you a fraud for saying that you're Satoshi. If you are Satoshi, just prove it and it'll be over with. But you can't. Moving on. So this is actually interesting. Bitcoin first as ledgerx launches regulated physical futures on the U.S. market. So Ledger beats everybody. Ameritrade was trying to launch Bitcoin futures. Bakkt is trying to launch Bitcoin traded futures. And turns out ledgerx wins the Bitcoin futures race. Weird. So United States Bitcoin derivatives provider ledgerx has officially launched physical Bitcoin futures trading, becoming the first to do so on the domestic market. In an announcement on July 31st, ledgerx said its physical futures offering was live on its Omni trading platform. It's official, we're live with retail trading on Omni, officials confirmed. Physical Bitcoin futures differ from those by some of the first operators in 2017. Rather than merely gaining exposure to Bitcoin, investors take delivery of it, requiring them to understand how to interact with it, in addition to betting on its price. So these are physical Bitcoin futures. Now, CME, I think CBOE futures that initially started on December 17th or so, which interestingly enough, the entire Bitcoin market crashed the next day. That's just a coincidence, though. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that little guy. So CBOE actually stopped doing Bitcoin futures. They didn't have enough volume. Like, nobody was betting with them. But CME still does Bitcoin futures. Now, the difference between like ledgerx backed and the Ameritrade ones that are coming out sometime soon, I guess, is that one is physical Bitcoin futures and one is just sort of paper Bitcoin. It's just basically horse betting. It's just gambling for the most part, which I suppose you could argue a lot of trading sort of is, but in that case, it's really, really just gambling. So it's just, you put money down, you say Bitcoin's going to be at this price on this particular date. And if it is, you win more money. Congratulations. You popped all the balloons at the county fair and you win the teddy bear. Congratulations. Give it to the lady, right? A little something for the lady to take home with. But if you lose your money and you got to buy the Bitcoin at the price, whatever. Futures. Awesome. However, these ones are actual Bitcoin, so you have to put 1 Bitcoin down minimum. So the minimum deposit is 10,000 or 1 BTC at press time equal to 9,995. So it's essentially 1 BTC, whatever the price is at the time. And that's your minimum bet, essentially. And what the difference is that people are going to have to be buying Bitcoin in order to do this. And also Ledger is going to have Bitcoin in order to pay people out, etc. So there's going to be a lot of Bitcoin being shuffled around with this. So that's the big difference. And it causes a lot more volume and a lot more demand for Bitcoin overall. So this is actually really good for Bitcoin. So moving on to something else kind of interesting. It's been a while since I read the news. So there's all kinds of good stuff. NBA and CryptoKitties creator team up to launch an in-game collectibles. So if you guys didn't remember CryptoKitties was like this game where you could breed cats and they would have these very unique traits. They had all like these hundreds and hundreds of different traits that could all mix with hundreds of different other traits, like their eyes, their ears, their noses, etc. And eventually you could get very rare CryptoKitties, and some of them sold for egregious amounts of money. And then it sort of just disappeared and died. I think it's still there, but I don't know what happened to CryptoKitties. And it was so popular that it was actually taking the majority of the transactions and sort of clogging up Ethereum. So good job, CryptoKitties. Now they're working with the NBA. So also good job, CryptoKitties. The National Basketball Team Association, the NBA, and Dapper Labs are teaming up to announce the launch of a digital platform for blockchain-based collectibles, NBA Top Shot. According to the companies, fans of the game can buy, sell, and trade digital collectible in-season moves like Kevin Durant's three-point shot or Joel Embiid's dunk. I don't know if I said that guy's last name right. Doesn't matter. Digital collectibles can be used for on-chain games or tournaments, similar to current products like NBA 2K. Dapper's NBA Top Shot allows users to acquire players and build rosters with an additional hook, purchasing specific moves from the prior season. So we got NBA CryptoKitties now on Ethereum. So good for them. So if you like NBA, NBA Top Shot, apparently. Moving on. So expected Federal Reserve rate cuts and what it could mean for Bitcoin. So the Federal Reserve is widely expected very soon here to lower its Fed funds target rate at its meeting today, in spite of stronger than expected market growth and job creation statistics with just 3.7% unemployment. The shift in policy from stable to declining comes in the belief that the economy is actually in danger of a recession. A reduction in the benchmark rate of interest could be seen as a spur in the side to keep the economy strong. So as the market moves in a tenuous direction, many analysts see the rate reduction as strongly bullish for Bitcoin. For example, Fundstrat founder Tom Lee, famous for his prediction of 25,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2018. Oh man, that was so wrong. Oh, that was so deeply wrong. It was like $3,200. Made his sentiment clear on Twitter. Weekend is starting in U.S. and past few weekends led to weakness in Bitcoin. Fed is expected to cut interest rates next week. Lower rates equals weaker U.S. dollar equals upside for Bitcoin. So expect Bitcoin to break the pattern this weekend and actually rise this weekend. And that was on July 26th, so it definitely didn't really rise over the weekend. I mean, kind of, maybe, at best. But Lee's analysis is simple. A weaker dollar will mean good things for Bitcoin. His logic, which is never correct. Has Tom Lee ever actually been correct in any of his predictions? Oh man, I wish I could be that guy. Tom Lee is like the meteorologist of the prediction crypto world. Let's just call it. Let's go with that. I'm gonna go with that. He's like the meteorologist, right? You could be totally wrong, and you could just come into work the next day. You're like, yeah, no, it's like a 70% chance it's gonna be a hurricane today, right? No hurricane today. I'm gonna come into work the next day, and everyone's just gonna give me a high five, and I'm gonna eat some donuts and get some company coffee. You know what I'm saying? You could just be totally wrong, and you just still have a job. How much money does that guy make? Can I please like have that job? Hey, MSNBC or whoever you work for. I always see him on TV. I can never remember. CNBC, CRB, TRX. I don't whatever the channels are. Can I have a job? I'll be like, hey, Bitcoin is gonna be 18,000 in November. Why not? Lee's analysis is simple: the weaker dollar, yada yada. So it's good. So people will essentially turn to a store of value like Bitcoin, in spite of substantial debate as the viability of BTC as a potential hedge against economic change. So we've never seen Bitcoin in a recession or a bad stock market. It sort of came out just when the stock market was actually turning around. It was the product of a bad stock market and the housing crisis, etc. And ironically, it came out right at the end when everything was sort of turning around. And so we've never actually seen Bitcoin or crypto in a true depression or recession in the market. So with the Fed lowering interest rates, they'll essentially pump more money into the system. And with more money means a weaker dollar. It's going to take more dollars to buy just about everything from a gallon of milk to possibly a BTC, depending on how the market goes in that sense. So, people could say, hey, I don't want these stocks. These stocks might go down. This might be a recession. But stocks are going down. Does Bitcoin go down too? That's the question. Or if there's a depression, recession, the stocks and everything's going down and going under, does Bitcoin stay where it's at? Does it continue? Or do people sell their Bitcoin in order to pay their bills because their stocks aren't doing so good? That's why I like to see Bitcoin on traditional stock markets, like E-Trade and Ameritrade and things like that are starting to really pick it up. Because if you start to see your stock negative 10%, but you see Bitcoin up 10%, well, that's probably, honestly, a really bad time to sell your stock. So I don't know what I'm talking about here. But doesn't that kind of make you think, hey, maybe I should have put my money into Bitcoin, right? Maybe I'll do that next chance I get. So moving on here, Litecoin is halving soon, and what you should know. So we're not going to go too deep into this. We kind of know what happens in a halvening. But a rule embedded within Litecoin's code set to reduce the rewards, the old halvening, in a lot of proof-of-work coins. In approximately 5 days, Litecoin will undergo that scheduled reward halvening. Been talking about it for a few months. Bitcoin's halvening isn't until May 2020, so Litecoin a little bit behind. In fact, I would actually say it's way behind because it was created years later, but fair enough. A process aimed at preserving cryptocurrency's purchasing power. The mining reward, currently set at 25 Litecoins, about $2,500 per block, will drop to 12.5 Litecoins, about $1,200 per block on August 5th. With the transition, the protocol will be adding significantly fewer Litecoins to the market after August 5th. The halvening, therefore, sounds similar to interest rate hikes and other measures initiated by central banks across the globe when combating high inflation. So investors may feel tempted to snap up Litecoins while heading into the event. However, Charlie Lee kind of put it in a good way that the price is already sort of priced in. The halvening is already priced in, essentially. I don't think that August 5th is going to be this rocket boom to Litecoin. I think more people are very interested in the Bitcoin halvening. And again, as we get closer, I say this a lot, but as we get closer to the Bitcoin halvening, there's going to be a lot more articles, just like I'm reading now. And they're all going to be all over the forums, Reddits, news sites. Everybody's going to be talking about it. And, that's going to be a pretty positive psychology. Oh, the Bitcoin halvening. It's coming in 3 months. It's coming in 2 months. It's coming in 1 month. And, that's going to get a lot of people to buy in. And they should, really. As, of course, it's going to get more and more rare over time. And if you really want to have a good go at what the Bitcoin halvening looks like over time. I did make a video on that a while ago, but you can always just like the Wikipedia actually has the big chart of it. You can find it just about anywhere, to be totally honest. And eventually, less than 1 Bitcoin is made per day, and eventually it's like a fraction, borderline like a couple hundred Satoshis, and then like 100 Satoshi, and then it gets down to basically a Satoshi a day, which I don't even know how you mine a Satoshi a day, or what is it, how does he even determine who gets that Satoshi? It's probably just split up even more, and eventually Bitcoin will have to be split up even more so that Satoshi can be like 10 digits, or the Satoshis can be like 10 digits instead of just 8, so they can actually go out to people. I don't know, interesting. But so, it says down here, history repeating itself, and this chart is pretty small. You can barely read it. But the day when, August 25th, the day when the mining reward was halved in a few years ago, like four years ago, essentially. And you can see here that it doesn't really mean a lot. I think the chart is trying to show, oh, look how much the price goes up after a halvening. And, it bottomed out to $1.12 in January 2015, and then it halved somewhere in shortly after that. But you can see nothing really happened for quite a long time until, about 2017. But I attribute 2017 to a lot of different things. I attribute that to BitConnect, the Genesis mining, and the YouTuber coming out, like shilling, referral links, buy, the price of Bitcoin from 1,000 to 20,000 in a year. So that makes sense. Of course, Litecoin boomed with all of them that year, like all cryptos did. There was a lot of reasons, in my opinion, for 2017. So again, don't take it too. It's a positive thing, of course. Over time, the halvening does have a great effect on the price of Litecoin or other cryptocurrencies over time. But it's nothing too quick. They're trying to show history repeat itself. Look at the price going up. Well, I mean, it took over a year for it to even start, and that was, of course, 2017, which basically doesn't count in the whole crypto world. 2017 was a total fluke, although it got everybody interested in crypto, which was really good. So moving on here to CoinMarketCap, $273 billion market cap. Bitcoin struggling to get over that 10,000 mark. We have some people that are fairly bearish, and they think maybe, hey, Bitcoin's probably going to go back to 8,000. Bitcoin went up in price because of a lot of hype recently, and that, Facebook was looking into Bitcoin, when in reality they were just going to make their own crypto. And that was a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype that brought it to 14,000 very quickly, nearly 14,000 anyway, so 13,000 some. And without that hype, we have fallen back. So I always like to say that Bitcoin goes up in price when there's a lot of hype, and right now, not a lot of hype at the moment. There was some better news a few months back that really pushed it from that 5,000-ish mark to 7 to 8 to 9 and so on. And now the hype kind of fell off just a little bit. And who knows how long this is going to last, this sort of stale price. But again, when the Bitcoin halving comes out May, honestly, I would try to get as much Bitcoin as you could before that time, because that price, there's going to be a lot of positive hype in the market upcoming to that halving. Now, is the halving truly going to affect the price inherently? Probably not. I think it's more hype. I think the halving doesn't really have much of an effect, like right away. Like, I don't think most people notice that right away. Maybe the miners do, but for the most part, it's mostly hype, and it takes a good few months, at least 6 months, for the demand of the market to really start feeling, hey, there's not a lot of Bitcoin out here, and every time I'm buying one, that's taking one from the market, and it's getting more and more rare. But miners will feel that pinch. The S9 miner makes what, a couple, $2 or $3 a day in Bitcoin, maybe 4 or 5 it's up to. I haven't actually checked in a while, but and the S9 miner is definitely not the most powerful miner these days, but I feel like the S9 miner was the most overproduced, mass-produced miner out there, and I think the majority of people that have an ASIC probably have an S9, and it's only making a few bucks a day, and after the halvening, just cut that in half, essentially. So, at the end of the month, miners typically sell off to pay their electricity, to pay their housing, and things like that, especially the big ones that have a big farm. And they're not going to want to sell it for a specific price. They're going to want to price higher. And that's one thing that really affects the price after a halvening. But that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video. That helps me out a lot. So does sharing the video. Yeah, also make sure you take that EOS link. That's $10 in EOS. Plus you get your own Cool Beans shill link afterwards, where you can make up to $40 more in EOS, which you should quickly convert to Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or something better, because EOS... I know there's a couple people in the chat that are like, oh, I don't like you funding on my EOS. But do what you want with it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as usual, I will see you guys next time.